All right. This video, I hope, will help with section 9.3.3, which is equations with decimals. Now, a decimal is a fraction. So if you have 1.4 and you multiply it by 10, it will cause that to become 14. If you have 2.76 and you multiply it by 100, that will move the decimal 2 places and cause it to become 276. So when you have a number and you multiply it by a power of 10, if you multiply it by 10, it moves the decimal 1 place. 100, it moves it 2 places. Now, what if you don't see a decimal? What if you have the number 6 and you multiply it by 10? 6 does have a decimal. It's not written, but it is implied to be to the right. It will move 1 to the right. You would fill in with a 0, and you already knew that 6 times 10 was 60. I'm going to use this idea to eliminate decimals from my equations. The problem set will look sort of like this. So I'm going to take a look at the first equation, and it is x plus 1.9 is equal to 9.4. I take a look at all of the terms. There's 1, 2, 3 terms. These 2 terms have decimals, so they're going to help me decide what to multiply by. This one has 1 place, that means tenths. This one also tenths. What I'm going to multiply by is 10. I'm not going to write a 10 down for each of them like I do with fractions, because I know what's going to happen. The decimal point is going to move 1 place in each one of the terms. Now, the coefficient of x is an implied 1. It has a decimal point on its right side, even though it's not written. So if in my mind I multiply by 10, that's going to go 1 place, adding a 0. That's going to go 1 place. Now it's a 19. That's going to go 1 place, and now it's a 94. I have 10x plus 19 is equal to 94. I now have an equation I'm a little bit more comfortable with because it doesn't have any decimals. I'm going to subtract 19 from both sides. I'll be left with 10x. That goes to 0. 0 plus 10x is 10x. Equal sign, and I get 75. Go off on your calculator, take 94, subtract 19, you should get 75. Final step is to divide by 10. X will be equal to, again, go to your calculator. These answers are intended to be either whole numbers, integers, or decimals. So with the calculator, you will get 7.5. Some of the answers will be decimals and some of them will not. Let's look at number 2. You should see something like negative 9y is equal to 1.17. Now, if you want to, you can just do the problem the way it is and divide both sides by negative 9. Use your calculator. It'll be fine. But I'm hoping you'll practice this decimal elimination idea. 9 has a decimal right here, and I don't see anything else. This one has 2 decimal places. That means I'm going to move it 1, 2 places. It's as if I'm multiplying by 100, but you're not going to see me thinking about multiplying. What would it take to get the decimal to the right? it would take moving it 2 places, do it there, do it here, add 2 zeros. This becomes negative 900y is equal to 117. Now you don't have any decimals. Divide by the coefficient, which is negative 900. I will get y is equal to a positive divided by a negative is a negative. And then 117 divided by 900, I get 0.13. I'm not doing my calculator work on screen. Let's take a look at number 3. I have 2.32 is equal to y minus 8. All right, look at all your terms. The coefficient of y is an invisible 1, and it has a decimal point there. 8 is a whole number. It has its decimal point there, but I have 2 decimal places here. So I will go 1, 2. It's as if I multiplied by 100. 2 places, 1, 2, add zeros. 1, 2, add zeros. I have 232 is equal to 100y minus 800. No decimals anymore. The variable is on the right, so I'm going to get it isolated. I'm going to add 800 to both sides. Add 800 to both sides. There you go. I have 1032 is equal to 100y, and that's gone to 0. Final step is to divide by 100. On a calculator, you will get 10.32 is equal to y. Using this trick of moving the decimal points, the largest number of places you see necessary can help you eliminate decimals. Let's take a look at number 4. I have negative 3.8x plus 1.1 is equal to negative 17.9. Okay, I've got decimals everywhere. 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place. I will move all of them 1 place. You have to do the same amount to all of them, even if they're whole numbers. This becomes negative 38x plus 11 is equal to negative 179. I will subtract 11 from both sides. That goes to 0. So on the left side, I have negative 38x is equal to, these are both negative. The rule is when you're combining 2 negative numbers, you add them. Well, if I add them and I get 190, and you keep the sign, so it's negative 190. Now, divide both sides by 38. I'm sorry, negative 38. That will give me x is negative divided by negative is positive. We'll do that in our calculator, and we will get the whole number 5. Let's look at number 5. I have 8x plus 4.32 is equal to 2x plus 12. Kind of spaced that out, but I had a reason. Excuse me. I have a decimal point here, but no digits. I have 2 decimal places. Decimal point here, but no numbers. Decimal point here, but no decimals. So the largest number of decimal places is 2. I need to move that 2 places so that it turns into a whole number. But if I chose to move this one 2 places, I have to move this one 2 places, this one 2 places, and this one 2 places. That gives me larger numbers, but no decimals. 800x plus 432 is equal to 200x plus 1200. Your goal is to take a problem that has a decimal and get no decimals. This number was the only one with decimal place values. So I knew that if I moved it 2, it would be a whole number. That told me to move 2 on all of them. I have variables on both sides. I choose to get rid of the 200x. So I subtract 200x from both sides. I get 600x plus 432 equals, that goes to 0. 0 plus 1200 is 1200. I will subtract 432 from both sides. I get 600x, that's gone to 0, equals, when I subtract this, I get 768. This would be a calculator activity. Now divide by the coefficient, which is 600, and I get x is 1.28. All right, let's take a look at the last one. Number 6. This has 8 parentheses x minus 8.6 close is equal to 9.6. There are different ways to do this, but the fact that you have 8 times a parentheses, you have a product over here, you have to be careful. I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and distribute the 8. That gives me 8x. Then I have 8 times 8.6 is, negative 68.8 equal sign 9.6. I chose to distribute first. Now I look, 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place, no decimal places. I'm going to move this one 1, so I have to move this one 1, and the 8 has its decimal point. I did not leave enough space. Move it 1, you're going to fill in with a 0. You end up with 80x minus 68.8 is equal to 96. I'm so sorry, that decimal is gone, 688. I'm going to add 688 to both sides. That is not a decimal point, that was a mistake. That gives me 80x, that goes to 0, is equal to, when you add these, you get 784, that's a calculator activity. Divide by 80, divide by 80, x is equal to 9.8. Let me say one additional thing that does not come up in these problems, but could perhaps show up some other time. If you had, this is just an extra problem. It's not in your assignment. If you had 1.2x plus 3.94 equals 7, and you wanted to eliminate the decimals, this will only take 1 move, but this will take 2 moves. This will take none. You do the largest. you have to move this one 2 places, which means this gets moved 1, 2 places. This gets moved 2 places. And you would end up with 120x plus 394 is equal to 700. I'm not going to finish this problem. What I wanted to show you is you had 1 decimal place, 2, and you had none. You go with the largest, so you will move everything 2 places. Every single term must be treated the same, and the one with the most decimal places determines it for you. Okay, try this assignment.